Folks, I have to tell you something. Anthony Fauci is sitting in a Senate hearing room right now, and Rand Paul is staring him down across that dais. And I have been waiting. We have all been waiting for this moment for the better part of 5 years. The man who told you not to wear masks, then told you to wear masks, then told you to wear 2 masks. The man who funded research in a Chinese lab, told Congress he didn't, and has been walking free ever since. That man is finally under oath, in public, with nowhere to hide. And Rand Paul wants one thing, one simple thing, the one thing Fauci has never in all his years on television, in all his years of pointing at charts and adjusting his glasses and lecturing you about your own life, the one thing he has never once done, an apology. An apology. That's it. That's what we're asking for. Just a man standing up saying, I was wrong, I'm sorry, and people died because of decisions I made. Simple, straightforward, human. Don't hold your breath. I'm Rick LeBeau. This is Rush Hour, and we are just getting started. My friends, let me paint you a picture. The year is 2020. The whole country has been locked in its house. Your kids can't go to school. Your mother is dying alone in a nursing home, and you cannot visit her. Your small business, the one your family built over 30 years, is boarding up its windows. Your church is closed. Your gym is closed. Your kids' baseball season got canceled. And on your television, every single night, there is one face, one man, one voice of authority, telling you what you can and cannot do. That man was Dr. Anthony Fauci. Now, I want to be precise here, folks, because I am, as you know, the all-knowing, all-sensing, all-seeing Maha-Ricky, and precision matters. Fauci did not do all of this alone. The Federalist had a piece not long ago that I think nailed it perfectly. They called it, There Were Thousands of Faucis. And they're right. You had state governors, county health officers, school board members, city hall, all of them putting on their little lab coats of authority and locking things down. You had that Los Angeles County supervisor, Sheila Kuehl, who voted to shut down all outdoor dining in Los Angeles County, and then drove directly from that vote to a restaurant in Santa Monica and had dinner. I mean, you cannot make that up. You simply cannot. No writer on earth would put that in a script because nobody would believe it. And yet, there it is. There she was. But Fauci was the face. Fauci was the high priest of this whole operation. And the thing about high priests, my friends, is that they don't apologize. That's not how religion works. And let's be clear, what we had during COVID was a religion. Masks were the sacrament. Social distancing was the ritual. And Fauci was the pope. Now, and I say this with all the modesty I can muster, which frankly is not much, I told you from the beginning that the gain-of-function research connection to Wuhan was real. I told you the wet market story had more holes in it than the federal budget. And I told you that the people in charge were not being straight with you. Don't doubt me. I never doubted me. So let's talk about what Rand Paul is actually after here. Because Rand Paul, and look, I have had my disagreements with the junior senator from Kentucky on foreign policy matters. But on this issue, the man has been a bulldog. He has been relentless. He has been correct. And he has been mocked and dismissed and called a conspiracy theorist by every major newspaper in the country for doing it. And here we are, gain-of-function research. For those of you who may not be fully up to speed on this, and it is genuinely technical, here's the short version. It's research where scientists take a virus and make it more transmissible, more dangerous, theoretically, to study it and get ahead of it. The argument for doing it is, well, we need to understand these things before nature does them on its own. The argument against doing it is you are literally building a more dangerous virus in a laboratory. You are, in a sense, playing God with pathogens. And the question at the center of all of this, is whether American taxpayer dollars routed through a nonprofit organization called EcoHealth Alliance ended up funding exactly that kind of research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology in China, in a country that does not have our safety standards, in a country that is not our ally. In a country run by, shall we say, the Chicoms, Fauci has always maintained, and I mean always, with the certainty of a man who knows the cameras love him, that the NIH did not fund gain-of-function research. He said it to Rand Paul's face in hearing rooms on multiple occasions. He said it slowly. He said it with that particular brand of contempt he reserves for anyone who dares question him. The kind of contempt that says, "How dare you? I am the science." Except HHS, the Health and Human Services Department, just this week announced a new policy banning federal funding for dangerous gain-of-function research. Now, why would you need to ban something that was never happening? Why would you write a new rule against something that wasn't being done? You wouldn't. The whole structure of Fauci's defense has been, well, it depends on how you define gain of function, which is the scientific equivalent of it depends on what the meaning of is. And folks, we remember how well that worked out for the last guy who tried that. And here's the thing that gets me. Here's the thing that I think about when I can't sleep. We are talking about, potentially, the origin of a virus that killed millions of people worldwide. Millions. The economic destruction, the lockdowns, the school closures, the mental health catastrophe, the small businesses that never came back. We're talking about damage that is incalculable. And the question of where it started and who might have had a hand in funding the research that might have produced it, that question was treated by the entire American media apparatus as a conspiracy theory. For 2 years, anyone who raised it was compared to a flat earther. The drive-by media ran cover for this man. They put him on magazine covers. They made him a folk hero. They sold Fauci bobbleheads, Fauci oven mitts, Fauci holiday ornaments. They turned a government bureaucrat into a celebrity and then used that celebrity to shield him from every hard question. And now he's in a chair, under oath, with Rand Paul across the table. The thing Rand Paul is asking for, the apology, he knows he's not going to get it. I'll be honest with you. Fauci is not going to sit there and say he's sorry. Men like Fauci, men who have spent their entire careers being the smartest person in the room, who have confused their institutional authority with actual wisdom, those men do not apologize. It would require them to fundamentally rethink who they are. And at 80-some years old, that ship has sailed. But the record matters. Getting it on the record, in public, in front of the American people, what was funded, what was known, what was said versus what was true, that matters enormously. Not because it'll change Fauci's mind, but because it might change yours. It might remind you the next time a credentialed expert appears on your television and tells you to shut your mouth and follow the science, to ask, whose science? Funded how? Through what channels? To what end? They know this. They know it. They know it, and they don't care, because they are already ginning up the next narrative, the next crisis, the next reason you should surrender a little more of your freedom to people who went to better schools than you, and therefore obviously know better. I say, not this time. Not anymore. Let Rand Paul have his hearing. Let the record speak, and let Dr. Fauci sit in that chair and explain himself to the people whose lives his decisions, right or wrong, turned upside down. The least he can do is show up. The least he can do is answer the questions. With all the power and money and fame he accumulated over 50 years in government, the very least Anthony Fauci can do for the American people is tell them the truth. I'm not holding my breath, but I am watching. All right, folks, the roundup. We've got a few more stories to get through, and I am not done with you yet. Let's go. First up, New Jersey. Oh, New Jersey, the Garden State, where apparently the garden includes a healthy crop of non-citizens being summoned for jury duty. 75,000 of them. 75,000 people who, by definition, are not eligible to serve on a jury, because you must be a citizen to serve on a jury, received jury duty summons in New Jersey. Now, how do you get on a jury duty list? Typically, they pull from voter rolls and DMV records. So the question GOP lawmakers are now very loudly asking is, how did 75,000 non-citizens end up on the voter registration rolls in the first place? They're calling it the tip of the iceberg. The tip of the iceberg, which means, presumably, underneath the waterline, there is a great deal more ice. This is not a clerical error, my friends. 75,000 is not a rounding mistake. That is a system that has been set up, maintained, and defended by the people who have run that state, that has been scooping up non-citizens and registering them in ways that eventually, one way or another, lead to votes being cast that should not be cast. And every illegitimate vote cancels out a legitimate one. Yours, mine, your neighbors, and the Democrats will call you a conspiracy theorist for noticing. They've been calling you that for years. Meanwhile, 75,000 jury summons just landed on 75,000 people who aren't citizens. The evidence is in the mailbox, folks. Literally. Next, Iran. Iran. This is serious, and I want you to pay attention. We have a situation developing that has multiple layers. Iran's proxies, Shiite militias in Iraq, essentially the same crowd that has been doing Iran's bidding throughout the region, launched drones at Saudi oil facilities. Saudi Arabia intercepted them, but they launched them. And then, just when it looked like maybe there was some diplomatic off-ramp being explored between the United States and Tehran, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps went and attacked American troops at a base in Jordan. Senator Joni Ernst put it plainly. The Iranians don't want to negotiate. They don't want to sit down. They want to probe. They want to push. They want to see what they can get away with. And Ernst said we should hit them as hard as possible. Now, I want to be straight with you here, because there are people on our side, good, smart people, who are deeply skeptical of another Middle East war, and I understand that skepticism. I share some of it. The Iraq experience was not a triumph of nation building. Afghanistan was 20 years of our blood and treasure, and then we handed the keys to the Taliban on the way out the door. Those are legitimate concerns, but here's what I also know. Iran is not some misunderstood country that just needs better diplomacy. Iran has been at war with the United States in one form or another since 1979. They took our hostages. They funded the groups that killed our soldiers. They've been trying to build a nuclear weapon for decades. President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu, who had what both sides described as a positive and productive meeting at the White House just this week, have reaffirmed that a nuclear Iran is a red line. Period. Iran with a nuclear weapon is a completely different world, a much more dangerous one. That is not a debatable proposition. So the question isn't whether to ignore Iran. The question is how to deal with them. And the answer is probably not to signal weakness by hedging every response and treating every provocation as an invitation to more talks. They understand one language. The Iranians have been demonstrating that for 50 years. Joni Ernst isn't wrong. And finally, let me give you a minute on Zoharan Mamdani, New York City's new mayor, because this deserves attention. The man put together a 19-person judiciary advisory panel to help him select judges for New York City, and he managed to assemble all 19 members without including a single Jewish person, not one, in New York City, a city where Jewish people have been a foundational part of the legal, cultural, and civic life for over a century. 4 Jewish bar associations have formally demanded he correct this. Now, this is the same Mamdani who has apparently been very focused on arresting Benjamin Netanyahu. Very focused on that. A man who ran as a democratic socialist, who has said very pointed things about Israel, who has the backing of the left-wing activist base that increasingly treats Jewish people as acceptable casualties in their coalition of the oppressed. That man somehow put together a 19-person panel with 0 Jewish representation. This is not accidental. And the 4 bar associations know it isn't accidental. And every Jewish voter in New York City who pulled the lever for the Democratic machine should probably think real hard about what they got. Folks, before I let you go today, big show, big day. Fauci on the stand, Iran on the march, New Jersey apparently running a non-citizen civic engagement program, the new mayor of New York doing his best impression of a man who doesn't know any Jewish people, and somewhere in Washington, the Republican National Committee has a nearly 2-to-1 cash advantage over the Democrats going into the midterms, and the Democrats are apparently frustrated with their own party chairman on top of everything else. That last part gives me great personal joy, I won't lie to you. Here's what I want to leave you with today. There is a pattern to all of these stories. The people who have been running institutions in this country, the public health establishment, the media, the big city political machines, have been operating on the assumption that you will not look too closely. That you are too busy, too trusting, too deferential to authority to actually check. And for a long time, that assumption served them well. It doesn't anymore. Rand Paul checked. He kept checking for years while everyone laughed at him. 75,000 jury summons in New Jersey is someone finally checking the voter rolls. The 4 Jewish bar associations checking a 19-person panel. People are paying attention in a way they weren't before, and the institutions that depended on your inattention are not handling it gracefully. Keep checking, my friends. Keep asking the questions. Keep demanding the answers. The truth doesn't require you to be an expert. It just requires you to not look away. I'm Rick LeBeau. This has been Rush Hour. Same time tomorrow if they let us back on.